Now, the Philippines is off the Financial Action Task Force gray list, a major win for the economy after nearly 4 years under increased monitoring. FATF, the global watchdog on money laundering and terrorism financing, had placed the Philippines under heightened scrutiny, making it harder for businesses to process international transactions, attract foreign investments, and access global financial markets. Now, the Philippines is delisted. Cross-border transactions are expected to smoothen. Investor confidence will get a boost, and the country will be in a stronger position to compete globally. But the challenge doesn't end here. The country must ensure that these gains are sustained to avoid falling back under monitoring. To understand what this means for businesses, banks, and the broader economy, we turn to someone who has been at the forefront of financial innovation and regulatory reforms. Our guest today is Lito Villanueva, the founding chairman of the FinTech Alliance Philippines and executive vice president, chief innovation and inclusion officer of RCBC. With the Philippines now off the FATF gray list, what comes next? How can the country build on this momentum and strengthen its financial standing? Hello, Lito, and welcome.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
This is such a happy development for the economy, for the country. But what does it mean for the average Joe, the average Juan de la Cruz?
We've been waiting for this great news for the past 3 years. And again, kudos to the Team Philippines led by BSP Governor Eli Remolona, SEC Chairman Emil Aquino, and of course, Insurance Commissioner Ray Regalado. And, to your question, what would be the impact for the common Juan and Juana de la Cruz? One is having to, they will not be able to enjoy a much cheaper, cost insofar as remittance is concerned. I mean, the inflow, that we have over 12 million Filipinos overseas, and they've been sending money back home. That will now be, one of those positive things that we will be expecting. So one is a much faster remittance inflow, at the same time, a much cheaper charges. And we've been working on that with the government insofar as having to really push those reforms and for us to be able to be delisted from the FATF gray listing.
Yeah, this means less restrictions. And so for the average Juan de la Cruz, we're so driven by OFW remittances. So that means faster, more real time.
Yes.
They'll get it more real time, the remittances, and also cheaper. How much cheaper would you say?
Well, we don't have the absolute numbers right now in terms of the figure, but we
better
have
exchange
better
rates.
exchange rate definitely, and there will be more. I think in terms of higher velocity. I mean, meaning more frequent, transfers coming from our fellow Filipinos from overseas, and I think this will not only redound to having that benefit, for remittances, but also it would really impact on the inflow of investments into the Philippines because of that the listing, more foreign investors will likely be more interested to have the Philippines as the right investment destination for them. And we've seen quite a number of fintech players who have actually expressed interest in investing into the Philippines. And I think that question before of do we still experience the investment winter for fintech players? I think we are seeing the end of it. We're seeing more and more investors coming to the Philippines, and this will definitely give an added boost for investors, given the fact that we are now off the list from the FATF gray listing.
Yeah, this is bullish for the equities market, and it's bullish for the peso also when we get more foreign direct investments on account of this. When will the broader economy start to feel the benefits of this? I mean, when will we start seeing the effect on the peso and on the equities? Probably about a year, right?
Well, I think we will be able to see the positive shifts, in about a year or so. Because I think the immediate impact would be, I think we will be able to see some good news from the stock market. I think that would be the immediate reaction, right? And of course, as you've said, the exchange rate will definitely will be more favorable for our importers, for example, and for our remittance players. Or the senders of from our OFWs. But I think we will be able to see those positive results, in a given year. And I think, as I've said, the sustained effort of regulations and when it comes to having to have that cooperation between the public and private sectors in having to ensure that there's transparency, accountability, and of course governance insofar as reporting, monitoring are concerned.
Okay. I do expect this, with our risk profile improving, do you expect to see better credit ratings for the country? And how close are we now to that coveted A rating?
I think we are very near that, that stage of having to achieve or having to have that the coveted A credit rating, upgrade. I think if we are to sustain our efforts in terms of having that, collaboration amongst all players in the industry. I mean, as you know, governments or the Philippine government and the regulators are the ones providing the framework, but the one to execute those frameworks or those regulations would be the private sector or the financial institutions. And I think with collaboration comes, of course, the partnership, the engagement of all sectors involved, all the stakeholders, and making sure that we will no longer go back to that gray list thing, right?
It's a collaborative effort between public and private. And, we've been here before. We're on the list, we're off the list, we're on the list, we're off it. How do we stay off of it?
We need to sustain our efforts. And this time around, I think we have that, that awareness now of making sure that we need to sustain that efforts in terms of having to have that regulatory oversight and to have that collaboration amongst players in the industry. And I think, as I've said, during the time that when we heard this news about gray listing about 3 years ago, the approach of the former administration has been the whole of nation approach, meaning it is not just an effort by the government, but also an effort by all stakeholders within the industry. And I think we have done our best in terms of having to deliver that. And that's why the good news came even before, right after the
cut in the reserve requirement ratio. So yet two independent, very positive developments for the Philippine economy. This getting off that gray list, and plus the cut in the reserve requirement ratio, which is going to put so much liquidity in the system. Things are really looking good. So how would you say, I mean, you're with the FinTech Alliance of the Philippines. How would you say your outlook is now, given these positive developments?
We are very positive about it, very happy about the new developments because, for example, in terms of the cutting of the reserve requirements, I mean, this will definitely give so much liquidity in the system and providing more, investments into equities and having to provide more lending to our Filipinos, to our businesses, etc. And insofar as fintechs are concerned, I mean, of course, as you may know, a lot of fintech players are also into lending, are also into digital banking, right? So especially there is also a cut in reserve requirements for digital banks, and of course for thrift banks it's now down to 0. So I think this will now really enhance the capabilities of the industry insofar as having to provide greater access to credit for most Filipinos, and of course having to match that with enhanced due diligence using AI-driven credit scoring algorithm to be able to address more millions of Filipinos who are still, how would you say it, the new to credit individuals, for them to be part of the the formal economy. So without us having, for example, one of the things that we've been promoting in the industry is on how we can get rid of the Filipinos away from the informal lenders or the loan sharks, etc. So we have these fintech, so we have these fintech players who provide more transparency, accountability, and again, a friendlier approach to our customers.
Well, the road ahead remains challenging, but it is littered with opportunity and now positive developments. So it's going to be very interesting, this 2025 and beyond. All right, thank you for your time, Lito.
Pleasure. Thank you so much.
That was Lito Villanueva, the founding chairman of the FinTech Alliance of the Philippines.